And the opportunity is to really celebrate with song and music today, and maybe even something else. But what we have is, you know, the Barbershop Quartet. Thanks for coming, and the SaddleBrooke Jam, as well as the SaddleBrooke Singers. So we're well represented here. Thank you so much for coming. We'll start with the Grandmere's prayer. So here's my niece Nicole.
Thank you. Let us pray. My dear God, thank you for this beautiful day, and thank you for blessing us so abundantly. Inspire us and lead us, guide us and teach us, and help us to walk in your loving way. Please be with all those who need our prayers and that are less fortunate than us and cannot be with us today. We give you every second of our day, Lord. Amen.
And here we have our wonderful Barbershop Quartet. I know my brother John has sung with these guys earlier.
So we're part of the SaddleBrooke Barbershop Chorus. We're the Desert Blend, but we also all are part of SaddleBrooke Singers. So we figured we'd give you the singers and the barbershop. So we've all sung with Madeleine before, and this is our gift to you.
When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows grow, whatever my lot thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul, with my soul. It is well with my soul. And Lord, haste the day when the face shall be sight, the clouds be rolled back as a scroll. The trumpet shall resound and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul, with my soul. It is well with my soul. With my soul. I believe for every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. I believe that somewhere in the darkest night, a candle glows. I believe for everyone who goes astray, someone will come to show the way. I believe. I believe that somewhere storm the smallest prayer will still be heard. I believe that someone in the grave somewhere is every word. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know why I believe. Oh, when the saints go marching in, oh, when the saints go marching in, oh Lord, I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching in, why don't you swing down, chariot, stop and let me ride. Swing down, chariot, stop and let me ride. Rock me, Lord, calm and easy. I got a home on the other side. Oh, when the saints go marching in, oh, when the saints go marching in, oh Lord, I want to be in that number. Lord, when the saints go marching, oh, when the saints go marching in, oh, when the saints go marching in, oh Lord, I want to be in that number. Lord, when the saints go marching in,
That was fantastic, gentlemen. Thank you. We'd like to bring up John's youngest, my little Mizina Fiorino.
All right, so I will be singing, or yes, I'm not, but I probably should. No, I'm going to be saying the Bible verses, Timothy and Jeremiah. Timothy 1:6-7. For the reason I remind you to fan into flame the gift of God, which is in you through the laying on of my hands. But the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. Sorry. The word of the Lord came to me, saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nation. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Rose Martinez, and I'm the fourth grandkid. I'm going to be reading today out of a book that my grandmother wrote. She authored and published, and so I felt that this captured the essence of her book and kind of her outlook on life the best. Singing in the Jewish temple was a very enriching spiritual experience for me. Since then, I have been with the Muslims in the mosque. I have attended services with the Hindus, the Buddhists, etc. It always amazes me that the message is always the same, and yet we don't seem to get it. We hear that we must have greater love for God and our fellow man.
But how can that be accomplished if we don't understand one another or accept our differences? How wonderful would it be if members from different faiths got together for regular meetings? Perhaps then we could begin to have a better understanding of our differences and an incentive to work together in creating a more loving and peaceful world. We would all be entitled to our own beliefs, since we are all in the process of learning and growing in our own spirituality. There would be no judging or condemnation. There has been an abundance of that in every one of our lives. We would not try to convert each other, because we would know that since God loves us all equally, we are all exactly where God wants us to be in every aspect of our lives.
Revelations of a Simple Soul. Thank you, Rose, for reading that. And, you know, Mom had a great time and with her jam group, the SaddleBrooke Jam Group. So if you guys are ready, we want to hear from you. And thanks so much for being here again.
Isn't this great? Look at it from different backgrounds, different locations around the U.S. and around the world. We're broadcasting out to the different countries, but we can all come together and share our faith, and we can share our stories of Madeleine. When I first came to the Jam Group, Madeleine was the first one to greet me. And I told her, I said, I'm a lot country. I'm a lot bluegrass, and I'm a lot bluegrass gospel. And she thought that was great. So she welcomed me right in, and she said, just have fun with us. So we're going to do some songs that are fun. And if you know, sing along. If you don't think you're a good singer, I'm not either. But this is the voice God gave you, and He loves it. He loves your voice. And this is a celebration of a life well lived. And we should be happy about it. We mourn, but then we should look back and we should be happy. Madeleine is in a better place. When she drew her last breath, she woke up and she was perfect. And she was crying holy to the Lord, Savior. Thank you, Father. So, if you know them, sing with us. If you don't know them, clap with us, or just sit back and relax. Crying, crying. Well, if I and no rock, there Moses stood. Well, I no stranger now. Lord, I need no stranger now. All I've been introduced to the Father and the Son, and I ain't no stranger now. I'm crying, going to the Lord, going to the Lord, crying, going to the Lord, going to the Lord. Well, if I could, I should be stand on that rock, and on the rock where Moses stood. Well, I'm Jordan, what did I see? The Lord carried me home. Oh, man, the Lord carried me home. Sweet, low, sweet, carry on. So we usually have our meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And Madeleine, every Tuesday and every Thursday, would request a Wayfaring Stranger. It's probably her favorite song for us to do, and we always did it. And sometimes we didn't sing it like we should, but Madeleine always insisted that we sing it. But the song is about the Lord, and she always felt that we sung it better when we didn't sing about the Lord, but when we sang to the Lord. She thought that's how we should sing, and that's how we should do our music. That when we sing, we want you to be entertained, but we want to sing to the Lord because he's the one that made Madeleine's influence on us possible. The Lord put her in our path so that she would have a positive impact on us. So we're going to do the Wayfaring Stranger. And now, the rest of my life, whenever we do this, I'm going to think that Madeleine is saying, do the Wayfaring Stranger. Okay. Here we go.
There's no sin, I'm going there to meet my Father. Walk with there, dark clouds will gather round me on my way. I'm going back to meet my mother. Said meet me where I'm gone. I'm only going One of the things I was really proud of is that when Madeleine was homebound and in bed, that a group of us got to go and sing for her, and we got to pray with her. And to the family, she was ready. She had made her peace. She knew where she was going. And she knew that she didn't feel good down there. But when she drew her last breath, she woke up in heaven. Oh, wait a minute. Man, I feel fine. She was reborn and perfect.
And that's why I picked this song. It's a song called I'm Feeling Fine. And like Madeleine, I know when I draw my last breath, no matter how sick I am or how I may be suffering, in that next instant, I'm going to be feeling fine. I don't know what heaven's going to be like. I don't know if it's going to be great golf courses where you hole in one every par 3 and you birdie every par 4 and 5, or if I'm going to get the perfect guitar I've always wanted. But I do know I'm going to be feeling fine for eternity. I woke up this morning feeling fine. I woke up with heaven on my mind. I woke up with joy in my soul, 'cause I knew my Lord had control. I knew I was walking in the light, 'cause I'd been on my knees in the night. And I prayed to the Lord, gave a sign. And now I'm feeling mighty fine. Well, I'm feeling mighty fine. I've got heaven on my mind. I want to go where the fish and honey flow. There's a light that always shines down inside this heart of mine. I've got heaven on my mind, and I'm feeling mighty fine. All the time, we're walking and talking as we climb. We're traveling across the sky, where I know I'll live when I die. He's been telling me all about the land, and he's telling me everything is right. And he says that our love will be mine. And now I'm feeling mighty fine. Well, I'm feeling mighty fine. Mighty fine. I've got heaven on my mind. I want to go where the fish and honey flow. There's a light that always shines down inside this heart of mine. I've got heaven on my mind, and now I'm feeling mighty fine. Well, I'm feeling mighty fine. I got heaven on my mind. I want to go where the fish and honey flow. There's a light that always shines down inside this heart of mine. I got heaven on my mind, and now I'm feeling mighty fine. Well, I'm feeling mighty fine. I got heaven on my mind. I want to go where the fish and honey flow. There's a light that always shines down inside this heart of mine. I got heaven on my mind.
Hello, my name is Deb Schlag, and since I cannot be there in person, I'm happy to share some brief memories of Madeleine from a distance via technology. Madeleine was a wonderful, strong, loving woman with the voice of an angel. She was a daughter, a sister, a cousin, a wife, mother, aunt, mother-in-law, Grandmere, great-grandmere, and most of all, a fabulous friend to many, including me, my husband Lloyd, and our son Michael. We were all saddened to learn of her passing on August 3rd, 2021, shortly after losing her husband Lee of 71 years. Both of them were so very special, and we shared many special occasions together, including anniversaries, which were both in September. We celebrated 43 years of marriage this September 16th, and they would have celebrated 72 years on September the 24th. Madeleine has been in my life for 63 years, and it's hard to know that I can no longer call her and hear, "Hi, honey," on the other end. Both of us were from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and I lived next door to her parents, Irene and Noel Turgeon, until I was married. The Cerniacs and the Turgeons were great neighbors, and each summer when I was young, I would look forward to Madeleine's visits home with her children so they could spend time with their grandparents, aunts and uncles, and extended Canadian family and friends. They would arrive in June and leave in August, and often I was lucky to join them at Pigeon Lake, where Michelle's Uncle John had a lakefront cottage. We all had great fun at the lake. It was amazing to me that they got almost 3 months of summer holidays from school in the U.S., compared to barely 2 here in Alberta. Michelle and I became fast friends and have been close for over 60 years. The Fiorinos are like a second family to me. I love them, and I share in this time of sorrow. COVID restrictions have kept us from traveling outside of Canada for more than 18 months, so it pains me not to be here participating in this celebration of life for Madeleine, and not too long ago for Lee as well. I remember Madeleine, she made the most amazing pralines, and one year, while in Canada, she and her entrepreneurial spirit put together a pop-up Mexican food stand for the duration of Edmonton's Klondike Days exhibition. Now, this was around 50 years ago and well prior to the fast food offerings at today's fairs, and she was really quite successful. I recall Michelle, John, and I, and maybe Paul and Robert too, all worked hard making and selling tacos, tostados, burritos, pralines, etc., to Edmontonians and visitors alike, all raving at the goodness of the food. And when we weren't at the stand, we were in the kitchen shredding lettuce, chopping tomatoes and onions, making guacamole, and pralines for the next day. At least Michelle and I were, I know that for sure, along with Madeleine. It was a full 10 days, and it was great fun. She received favorable reviews in the local paper, the Edmonton Journal, and she was unstoppable. Continuing with that entrepreneurial vein, she also formulated a face serum called Matto's Mist and wrote a book, Revelations of a Simple Soul. She was not only smart, but a spiritual woman as well, showing her love for the Lord in many ways. She was always thankful and showed her gratefulness through prayer, often and always before meals. I loved the spontaneity of her simple and sincere prayers. Lloyd and I loved spending time with Madeleine and Lee, and we made many visits to their home in Parker, Colorado, and more recently in Tucson. They so wanted us to move to SaddleBrooke after Lloyd retired. I remember we visited Tucson together for the first time. We went to a barbecue that John was hosting, and both of us looked up at the dark sky and simultaneously said at the very same moment, "We should move here. What beautiful stars." Well, that was the first time in 40 years either of us ever considered moving away from home. St. Albert, Alberta, Canada, let alone making the statement at exactly the same time. Madeleine Lee thought that was the best idea ever, and I know why they thought that was a little piece of heaven. She was so cute and spunky, and it was hard to get mad at her, even when she was being difficult. And that's probably why I was able to stay in her good graces for so long. You know, I remember she loved shoes with heels and had such tiny feet that the style she loved always seemed to be on sale. They were too small for everybody else, so she would always score a bargain, and she loved bargains. When I visited Tucson for the first time, she had to take me to the Golden Goose on a shopping trip. Wow, that was quite an experience. But with her, it was all good fun. Madeleine always called me on my birthday to sing happy birthday. She soon enlisted Lee and the dog, and in the last 10 years, even John. And Michelle and I have birthdays one day apart, so it's easy to remember. I so looked forward to those calls and will really miss that angelic voice. My patience never seemed to run out with Madeleine. What a gift she was, always welcoming, nurturing, and encouraging me to be the best I could be. I'm so glad John was able to be in Tucson with his parents over the last 10 years to ensure their quality of life was as good as possible, given they were both getting on in years, both celebrating birthdays of 96 before they passed. And while I could go on, I won't, as I'm sure there are others that wish to share. I feel blessed to have had Madeleine in my life and will remember her with love and admiration. She lived a long, full life with lots of adventures. May she rest in peace with her darling husband, Lee. While they will no longer be in their little piece of heaven on earth in Tucson, they will be together forever in heaven above. We love you, Madeleine, until we meet again. Bye.
We know that because she joined the same year I did. She was a lovely person, always willing to help anybody who was having a problem. And she just enjoyed singing. Besides being a singer, she also participated in the variety shows that we have here in SaddleBrooke, and she enjoyed that immensely. She, I know she loved music, she loved singing, and I know she really enjoyed singing with the singers because she was just so upbeat every time she came to practice. And we just will be missing her tremendously. The singers will miss her tremendously. And thank you for inviting us to give a tribute to her today.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. Oh, precious gift that grace of near, the hour I first believed, when we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, with no mistakes to sing God's praise, then when sound that saved the wretch I live. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see.
So I'm a bass in the SaddleBrooke Singers, so I never sat near Madeleine, but she was still a sweet face, usually in the front row. And what I've been told is that one of the songs she liked was "You Are My Sunshine." And if you've ever listened to the verses of "You Are My Sunshine," they're pretty dark. So we're mostly going to stay away from the verses, but we're going to have you join in and make this a celebration of the sunshine of Madeleine's life.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. The other night, dear, as I was sleeping, I dreamt I held you in my arms. When I awoke, dear, I was mistaken. So I hung my head and cried. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
Comment or say anything? We'd like to open this mic up to you. If anyone would like to come up. Okay, we'll give that a few minutes.
We figured now that everybody's vocal cords are warm, we might come up and share. I actually have a couple of reading or messages here that I was asked to read by people who are not able to be present. The first one is from my grandmother's siblings in Canada, Dr. Pierre Turgeon, her brother, as well as Marie-Claire Turgeon, her sister, and many friends that helped them put this message together for us. And as I read, I just want you to turn to the back of the program just to take a quick peek. I was supposed to have my flags with me today and I don't, but on the back I put them. So she was definitely a dual citizen and I'll just get to the reading. So I just wanted to bring your eyes to the flags while I read this. We are very pleased to have shared collaboratively in the planning of Madeleine's celebration of life. Since we cannot be there in person due to COVID restrictions, our spiritual message of love is sent to Madeleine and the Fiorino family via email from her Turgeon family in Canada. Madeleine was predeceased by her father, Noel, mother, Irene, and siblings, John and Bernard. She leaves to mourn her loss, 2 younger siblings, brother Dr. Pierre Turgeon, who lives in the Greater Ottawa area, Canada's capital city, and sister Marie-Claire Turgeon, who lives in Edmonton, Alberta's capital city.
She also leaves many immediate family members, nieces, nephews, and their children, along with many other relatives and friends from Canada. Our message is for Madeleine, her children, Robert, Paul, Michelle, John, and Ted, 11 grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren. This is my own insert. At the time of her passing, she had 5 great-grandchildren, and as of 4 days ago, she has a 6th. Many relatives, friends, and acquaintances in the USA. Thank you, merci, for enhancing the life of our beautiful, talented, fun-loving, spiritual sister, Madeleine. She was truly blessed in having 5 children who not only loved her, but also found her adventurous, adorable, dedicated, prayerful, and sweet. Her husband, Lee, was a loving and supportive husband of 71 years. All of you also enhanced her life in some way through phone calls, visits, cards, letters, etc., which were all appreciated not only by her, but by her husband and children as well. Thank you, merci, Lee Fiorino, for not only being here in spirit, but also in another extraordinary way. I'm sorry, this was when we did our celebration of life in Denver. We had it at a big movie theater that my grandpa actually was the architect for. So that's what this is referencing. You created the design for this beautiful facility, which is not only a legacy to your architectural achievements, but also allows us to have a unique experience together. How fortunate we all are to be here physically and spiritually, to share in the celebration of our life for our beautiful and unique sister, wife, and mother, Madeleine. Thank you, merci, goodbye, au revoir. Enjoy the rest of Madeleine's celebration. God bless you all, stay safe. My Aunt Mickey Marie Claire also wanted to mention that she got the chance to meet a lot of you guys when she got to come down to SaddleBrooke to visit. Her stay was several months long in the casita of the very kind Ralph and Francine. And she has very, very fond memories of being down here and is glad that she had the chance to meet so many of the people that make SaddleBrooke a very special place. So she says, thank you to the residents of SaddleBrooke for enhancing the lives of Lee and Madeleine.
I just wanted to say I'm John Fiorino. I've been here for 10 years. I just wanted to say that since I've been here for 10 years, SaddleBrooke has opened their arms and they've just been so friendly and nice. And I just wanted to say thank you for being so nice to my mom, my dad, and myself. Thank you so much.
I hadn't really planned on, but I'm gonna just from the heart, little babbling. When I first met Madeleine, it was in SaddleBrooke Singers, and I just happened to be seated right next to her. It was Linda when Linda was directing, and I just fell in love with her right away. And similar to Steve, she just made me feel welcome, you know, right away. And we just became pals, and we had maybe a 40 age year difference. And I never felt like Madeleine was my mom or my grandma. She was my friend. She was my pal. And we had more fun. We'd go to listen to the repeat operas at the movie theater. We'd get together and do all kinds of fun stuff. And whenever we were driving together, for whatever reason, we always loved that we ended up seeing a lot of nature. Like animals would come out of nowhere every time we were together. We're like a group of javelina and coyotes and, you know, deer. And we just always thought that was so much fun. I loved getting to know her. I respected and admired her so much. She was cool and into stuff long before anybody else was into stuff. You know what I mean? Like way back when, before it became hip and cool, Madeleine was into herbs and homeopathy and natural childbirth and eating healthfully and yoga and all kinds of stuff that 30 years later, people were like, maybe that looks good. You know, she was all about it. I loved also her spunk, her love of life, her kindness. I loved how much she loved Native American spirituality. You know, she lived it and she resonated so much with their respect and love of nature, their honoring of nature and the natural world, their non-judgmental nature, their respect and embracement of other faiths. And I just was so inspired by her deep reverence. And she was somebody who didn't just think of things on paper, like that Native American stuff is a good idea, or Jesus is a good idea on paper. She lived it. You know, she breathed it. She just lived what she believed with so much love, and I admired that so much. Something that I also loved is that there was never a conversation in person or on the phone that Madeleine got off the phone without saying, "I love you." And it was never, ever, ever a throwaway "I love you." You know how "I love you" you get used to them. And, you know, I hate to say it where my husband is, and I do love you. But, you know, you kind of sometimes have that throwaway "I love you." Like, yeah, okay, I love you. Yeah, okay, I'm going to the store. I love you. Yeah. You know, when Madeleine said it, she paused and she'd just either look at you if you were in person, or she'd say it over the phone and she'd say, "I love you." And you know what? You felt it. You felt it in your tippy toes all the way to the top of your head. And I loved that, you know, no matter when Madeleine was going through stuff, even if she was going through a hard time or the family was going through a hard time, she never not thought about other people. I mean, she could be going through something with Lee or your family, or maybe she was sick, and she would sincerely, when you're talking to her, if you were having a hard time about anything, she'd say, "What can I do? Can I make you some soup?" You know, when my mother passed, she brought soup over, like right away. You know, she just, that homemade soup. But she would offer to help Nelson and I with anything, no matter what you guys, and even including when she was in hospice. "What can I do to help you?" You know, it was amazing. And then the other thing I wanted to share is that I felt privileged that it just happened to be the day before she passed. She was, you know, having a challenging day that day, you know, as many of those end days were challenging, and, you know, pain and just, anyway, just a challenging time, discomfort, not the easiest of times. And the day before, it just happened to be my birthday. And I was telling my jam friends, you know, earlier, and she called, and this is the night that she was taken into hospice, the night before she passed. And she sang "Happy Birthday," you know, along with Michelle. But it was just to hear her singing, like that was her jam. That was her joy, singing and love. And I miss her very much. I love her family. And I love how filled with love Madeleine is, and what a special, beautiful soul she is. I will remember her all my life with love and gratitude, and her family as well. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Madeleine's friend, Peggy Knowles. Like Anne, I wasn't prepared to speak today, but I hope, like Anne, I'm able to deliver this idea just fine. Great job, my friend. Well, it's common knowledge to this entire room that music was Madeleine and Madeleine was music. But I don't know how many of you know that she had a heart for children above all. Years ago, when I discovered there was no music teacher up in Oracle, I called our mutual friend, Earlene Lewis. Said, "Earl, these kids need music." And she immediately said, "Then we need Maddo." And without hesitation, Madeleine said, "Where are we going? What are we doing?" And we got permission to put a Christmas choir together up in Mountain Vista School in Oracle. So every Thursday, when it was cold in December, poor Maddo was getting weekly injections in her knee because she was in so much pain. She went up there and climbed those Billy Goat Hills and went to school and taught choir every week, and just brought joy to the children. And it just brought joy. So she and Matt and Earl and I became the three musketeers in music. It was just such a joy. No matter how much she was looking like she was not going to get out of the car that day, she'd think of the children, bop, the spring and the step, there she was. She would do anything to improve their lives and to bring the joy of music to their hearts. And I cannot thank Madeleine for bringing joy to my heart. I'm so close.
Hello, I'm Michelle Fiorino. This is from our cousin. It's a first cousin that my mom had that lived in the Air Force Academy. So here we go, Mike Gatliff. I did not ask Madeleine if I could include Lee in this reflection, but it doesn't matter. I know what she would have said. Sure, honey. Now, who in the world would mind? Who in the world would, indeed? Not Madeleine, and especially if it meant including Lee. Being included is what I always felt around Madeleine. Our families began sharing holidays and other times together when the Gatliffs moved to Colorado Springs in 1961, and the Fiorinos were living down the street from the drive-in theater in Littleton. It was not long before Madeleine and Lee became one of the first settlers in Parker. And pioneering settlers is what they felt like to me as a kid of 8 or 9. You could only see one other house from their home in Parker, and the rest was wide open land to be explored, full of petrified wood and horned toads. My dad, Renee, Madeleine's cousin, whom she loved deeply and unconditionally, once told me, "Your Aunt Madeleine and Uncle Lee have some gypsy in them." I remember thinking, I wish I had some gypsy in me. It's not an exaggeration to say that the generous kindness and love Madeleine always showed my father may have been the only grace he experienced from a blood relative. It was Madeleine who taught me to love lasagna. And the feasts at Thanksgiving, Christmas, or any other time were legendary. I even knew that as a dumb kid, there was always a sense of plenty and more at Madeleine and Lee's table, which was not only a reflection of the food, but of them. A dumb kid looking at two married adults never really knows what's going on, but it always felt like Madeleine and Lee balanced each other. For example, why do I think it had to be Madeleine's idea for the entire camping family to go camping at the Calgary Stampede in the late 60s, and that maybe Lee stayed home? The one story that Paul and John told me over and over from that trip was about the inebriated guy who came by their campsite saying, "My name is Jack, I'm drinking Jack, and I ain't got Jack." Characters like that never showed up at the Air Force Academy where we lived. And if one did, the air police would have arrived in a minute. Later, as a dumb teenager in 1969, I got to witness Lee trying to ride herd for a few days on those 3 independent, creative, energetic, articulate, outspoken teenage sons. The climatic scene came when Lee confronted Robert about being out until midnight with the family station wagon. Lee was all worked up. Robert was unfazed, but just to amp things up a little more, Robert said, "Oh, by the way, Dad, that station wagon shimmies at 80. In these last few years, I did something I wasn't smart enough to do with my parents. I had some long, wonderful conversations with Madeleine about her early life in Canada and New York. Hearing about the young girl made me love and appreciate Madeleine even more, and beyond that, something unexpected. And Madeleine's last gift to me, we realized that we were not only aunt and nephew, but dear friends who could always pick up where we left off. I look forward to the day when we can pick up the conversation again."
Oh, I was realizing this is kind of blocking. Just kind of look over it so that you don't get too nervous looking at yourself. My name is Nicole Martinez, and I am the oldest grandchild. I made my grandma Grandmere, and I was lucky enough to have her in my life for a full 42 years. So I was born at home. I was the first one born at home because, as we just heard, she was definitely a pioneer in homeopathic medicine and midwifery, a lot of other things that I'll also touch base on. I have a little 5-year-old at home, and my mom's been here a lot this year, and so my daughter misses her. Right? She came home this last time and said, "So, Grandma, how's Grandmere doing?" And without a beat, my mom said, "She's doing wonderful. She's up in heaven singing like the angels." We talked a lot today about excellence and having that beautiful, very high standard in everything that you do, as well as making sure that everything that you do unto the Lord, right? Like how they were, what they said about singing. It was like, you know, if you're singing, you could just sing, but if not, it came from way down here. But she really believed that you could do anything. If you put your mind to it, you could do anything. And there was an expectation to go ahead and shoot for that. All the way from piano lessons, which, by the way, her mom, my great-grandmother, was an incredible piano player and tried to, like, we all had to take piano lessons, trying to learn from an incredible piano player and an incredible singer your whole entire life. It's like, oh my gosh, how can I ever really achieve that? But also for using that voice as her instrument. And I want to personally thank everybody so much for the beautiful songs that we did here today. And really, it made me realize, you know, the feeling that you get when you are doing something that you were put on this earth to do, when you have a voice that you should share, that feeling that you have to be able to do that. I'm a dancer. So when I dance, I know I was put here to dance. And that feeling that you get, that's what she lived her whole entire life like. She was an incredible inspiration. Tucson has been an incredibly awesome place for me to be able to come, always with open arms with both of my grandparents. They've been here for me through wonderful times, and they were definitely a support in a lot of hard times. I just flew in today to Tucson. Where did I leave my message? Now I can't see. I'll come back to that. She was always encouraging adventure. I got that bug from her. So I've been traveling my whole life so far. I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. And I had the great privilege of being an exchange student. My mom and my grandmother came over to Spain, and we went up to Amsterdam for Christmas. And that little lady, this was before there was a lot of rolling suitcases. So she had this little rolling suitcase, and she just went walking through the train stations. I mean, her steps are very small, but she makes it very fast. And we ended up being at the train station. This dang thing kept on falling over, and she'd just turn around to pick it back up and then just keep dragging it behind her. She called it her perrito, little dog. She'd wake up every day knowing what she was having for dinner that night. And if I was coming for a visit, she'd call me 2 days ahead of time. Now, what would you like to eat for dinner tonight? And if I didn't know, I'd say anything would be great. Well, don't you think you might want some sausage and peppers? Those are my favorite, and she'd know that. She was an entrepreneur. She was actually a yoga pioneer, studied under the man that is known to bring yoga to the United States. She was a midwife pioneer. We grew up knowing, she'd always say, oh, well, and it's organic. And I was like, what the heck is organic? Now everybody knows what organic is, but this was going on a long time ago. She actually her and my grandfather started the Catholic church out in Parker, known as Ave Maria. They started that in their house. And now it's the large Catholic church in Parker, Colorado, where I grew up. And she definitely was fashionable. Leopard print, tiger print, different colored hair, make sure it's a little spiky. It was always, is it okay? I'm like, yeah, it's spiky and colorful. That's how she liked it. I want to thank you very much. This has been a travel of closure, right? I'm seeing a lot of you guys again. I'm seeing you at the beginning of the summer. Now we get to have a closure in the fall. The unit has passed. The creative, excellent spiritual legacy, never forgotten, and their legacy will live on for generations. There it is, landing in Tucson today. I started driving here and I just realized, I don't know when I come back, right? This has been a place to breed memories, amazing ones, beautiful ones. I drove past a couple places and just went, oh, they're gone. They were ready. They were beyond ready. They were very ready. They both shared that with me as well in our conversations. I wasn't. I don't think I'd ever be. But I do hope that my life is as fruitful as theirs, as full as theirs, and as abundant as theirs. I hope I can be as kind and generous and as adventurous, as long-living and healthy, clear-minded and purposeful as they were, with intention and beauty, and very much passionate about everything that they liked, that they loved, and that they believed in. and fulfilled their lives that way. Thank you guys all so much for sharing and for being here today with us. I do have a few other messages, and if anybody wants to come up, you can still feel free. I have a message from Father Pat Valdez. If you were at my grandpa's ceremony, you heard some of these words then. I just wanted to add, Father Pat knew my Uncle John very well, obviously my grandparents very well, but also my dad, and he was the one that baptized me into the Catholic Church. So I wanted to read this from him. Greetings. Here are some thoughts I wrote of our dear Madeleine. My deepest sympathies to you, Robert, Paul, Michelle, John, and Teddy, and your children on the loss of Madeleine and your father, Lee. I think I first came to know Madeleine in 1973 at All Souls Church in Inglewood. Madeleine was the choir director, and I helped on Sundays. As was typical of Madeleine, she involved everyone around her. So I meet her and the children. I often was invited to the family home. I think the address was 295 Pinecone Road in Parker. That's true. Where I spent many memorable Sunday afternoons there with the family. Madeleine was a person who touched so many persons and lives, and she always had time for people. Her outgoing personality of joy and living made her so attractive to many people. She had the way of making persons feel their positive worth and was a joy to encounter her. In other words, she showed Christ and communicated God's grace through her presence, words, and work. Over the years, her circle of acquaintances and friends grew larger and she continued to give of herself. She took Christ to others. I am reminded of St. Andrew, apostle, described in St. John's Gospel of John, taking persons to Christ. Madeleine did the same. For me, Madeleine was a light in my life. She enriched me and so many others. We are better persons because of knowing her, her energy, her family. She will be missed, but we know where her Lord has taken her after her work in the vineyard of the Lord to be with her Christ, her Lee, and family and friends in heaven. Father Pat Valdez. Also on the Zoom call, as you guys know, we're streaming. I have a couple of messages that one is from my Aunt Esther Martinez. She says, Jerry and I love them both so much, and they instill faith and love in each other, of their children, and all their family. Such a blessing to be part of them and their family. May eternal rest be granted and perpetual light shine upon them, I pray. Madeleine is such a beautiful, kind, and love-filled woman. She and Lee shared and gave tons of love throughout their lives. I realize I'm usually the one that just reads what other people wanted to share, but I just wanted to say that I think this summer, after going through a lot of the pictures for the slideshow you'll see here pretty soon, and the one that we did for my grandfather earlier this summer, just start thinking like how much we took for granted. Like everything that they taught us. I wasn't gonna be emotional. I'm a teacher, for goodness sake. Okay, here we go. They taught us so much, and it's one of those things when you're a little kid and you just hear like the same stories all the time, you know? But then when you get to be an adult, you realize what a huge impact that is. So I want to invite you guys to visit the website that we put together for my grandmother specifically. I don't think I printed it, but anyways, we ended up putting a lot of stories on there of her that just couldn't be captured in an obituary. And just the amount of things she accomplished by the age of 9 is incredible. And then you go and see, I don't know, she grew up in a convent as like an only child, living with a bunch of nuns, and just realizing that she didn't really have a childhood, but she loved children so much, and it was so important to her to have faith like a child. Anyways, please
let me know if you want the information for the website, because we tried to capture a lot of parts of her life that happened before she was married and before she had kids, and it's just really, really incredible. And I will always remember she told me that my first child made her great grandmother. She wasn't that happy with everybody knowing she was a great grandmother because she never wanted her age to be known. So sometimes she would just tell us, just don't put the great in there. But when my third child was born, she was ready to leave from Denver to come back here and decided to stay a couple of days. And she had that special bond with my son, Isaac, just always telling us and reminding us that he saved her life, because if she would have come here, she would have been at the rally for one of the people who was running for office, where there was gunmen and a lot of havoc. And that was the same day my son was born. And so she would always remind us that if I hadn't had a third child, she would have been dead a long time ago. She was so sweet in the way she talked about things like that. But I just realized that over this summer of reflection, I see a lot of her in me in connecting people and just really wanting to make sure people know each other and appreciate what everyone has to offer. And also from my grandpa, I see that I'm always the one behind the scenes, making sure things are going smoothly. And so I just wanted to thank them both for that.
Thank you, Rose. And thank you, Rose, for putting this. She was really made this happen. Got to have somebody that does that. Makes it a fantastic moment. Does anybody else want to come up and speak? Raise their hand if you do. Otherwise, we'll move forward. Are we? Ave Maria. Thank you. So this next song we're going to share with you is probably one of the most populars of ever, the Ave Marias, you know. They've been written time and time again, but this is sung by my mother's brother, Bernard Turgeon, who went on to become a father of opera for Canada and was inducted into the Hall of Fame recently at the age of 80 before he passed. And so enjoy the Ave Maria for a moment.
Dona, Nobis, Pacem, Pacem. Dona, Nobis, Pacem.
Matthew 5, 3 through 10. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. And blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. And blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Now, in true Grandmere fashion, she's going to slightly interrupt the program by showing us a little performance that she put on, and then it will be followed by the slideshow in which all of the music is her singing.
So far. Contestant number 5 now to sing a song that she has created by herself. Here is Madeleine Fiorino.
This song I'm going to sing in Spanish. I wrote it and I sing it in Spanish and in French. So I thought I would translate a little bit of it. It's a very sad song. a song about an impossible love called Pourquoi mon amour, Why my love, or Porque mi amor.
Et la vie sépare ceux qui s'aiment tout doucement, sans faire de bruit. Chanson qui nous ressemble, moi qui t'aimais, toi qui m'aimais, nous vivions tous les deux ensemble. Moi qui t'aimais, toi qui m'aimais, mais la vie sépare ceux qui s'aiment tout doucement, sans faire and I love you most of all, my darling. When autumn leaves start to whether you are here or yonder, whether you are false or true, whether you remain or wander, I'm getting fonder of you. Even though your friends forsake you, even though you don't succeed, wouldn't I be glad to take you and give you the break you need, more than you know, more than you know. Man of my heart, I love you so. Lately I find you're on my mind more than you know. Whether you're right, whether you're wrong, man of my heart, I'll string along. I love you so, more than you'll ever know. Loving you the way that I do, there's nothing I can do about it. Loving may be all you can give, but honey, I can't live without it. Ooh, oh, how I'd cry, oh, how I'd cry if you got tired and said goodbye. More than I'd show, more than you'd ever know. Vous savez bien que dans le fond je ne crois rien, mais cependant je veux encore écouter ces mots que j'adore. Votre voix au son caressant qui les murmure en frémissant me berce de sa belle histoire. Et malgré moi, je veux y croire. Parlez-moi d'amour. dites-moi des choses tendres. Votre beau discours, mon cœur n'est pas là de l'entendre. Pourvu que toujours vous répétiez ces mots suprêmes. Je vous Darling, je vous aime beaucoup. Je ne sais pas what to do. Vous avez completely stolen my heart. Matin, midi et le soir, toujours wondering how you are. That's the way it's been right from the start. Ah, chérie, my love for you is trop fort. Wish my French were good enough. I'd tell you so much more. Mais j'espère that you comprehend all the lovely things you mean to me. Darling, je vous aime beaucoup. I love you. My love for you is fort. Wish my French were good enough. I tell you so much more. Mais j'espère that you comprehend all the lovely things you mean to me. Darling, je vous aime beaucoup. I love you. Yes, I do.
He brings me back down in green pasture. He leads me beside the still water. He restores my soul and guides my path. In righteousness for His name's sake. Surely goodness and loving kindness shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever and ever. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not fear the thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thy love is before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cups overflowing. Surely goodness and loving kindness shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever and ever. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
Thank you very much. Mom wanted to see that last time, so you got to see it today. Thank you very much. If it wasn't for her, I would have never started dancing 50 years ago this month. So whenever you see the Nutcracker, you got another reason to think of this lovely lady. Yeah. Thank you again so much for giving us this opportunity and sticking around and sharing this celebration.
I'll be reading the closing prayer that's in your programs, and after this, you'll hear a song that was composed by one of my grandmother's very good friends, who they raised their children together, Robert Kreutz. And after that, the SaddleBrooke Jam is going to sing another song for us while we are basically just greeting each other. So after this prayer, you guys are welcome to get up and speak with each other, but just know there'll be some music in the background. The prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. Amen. Thank you.
You satisfy the hungry heart with gift of finest rate. Come give to us, O saving Lord, the bread of life to eat. As when the shepherd calls his sheep, they know and hear his voice. So when you call your family, Lord, we follow and rejoice. You satisfy the hungry heart with gift of finest weight. Come give to us, O saving Lord, the bread of life to eat. With joyful lips we sing to you our praise and gratitude, that you should count us worthy, Lord, to share this heavenly food. You satisfy the hungry heart with gift of finest rate. Come give to us, O saving Lord, the bread of life to eat. Is not the cup we bless and share, the blood of Christ outpoured? Do not one cup one loaf declare our oneness in the Lord. You satisfy the hungry heart with gift of finest wheat. Come give to us, O saving Lord,